I moved to Australia in October 2022, and this is my exact investing approach and strategy that I've been following since moving to Australia, including the different platforms that I use, the different investments that I have. I'm going to be going into all of that in this video. So if you've moved to Australia or are looking to move to Australia, you can hopefully understand how someone from overseas, from the UK, can carry on investing while still living abroad. Going to get straight into it, and I invest essentially in two main ways, a bit similar to what I did in the UK. Number one is through my superannuation, which is my workplace pension, essentially called a super. And the second one is through my own net income. So when I actually receive money into my bank account, I also invest part of that every single month through a general investment account. Unfortunately, there's no stocks and shares ISA equivalent in Australia, so I have to use a general investment account instead. So in the UK, I mainly use my workplace pension and a stocks and shares ISA. In Australia, I also mainly use a workplace pension, but then I also have a general investment account, unfortunately, because there's not a stocks and shares ISA equivalent. So out of those two ways that I invest since being in Australia, the first one is my superannuation, my workplace pension. This is with a company called Mercer, and that is just the super provider that my employer uses. In the UK, my workplace pension was with Legal and General. Now in Australia, it's with Mercer. How a super works is you contribute 11% of your own money to your superannuation from your salary every single month. This gets taxed 15% on going in, essentially. So of that 11%, 15% gets taxed, and that money is then invested into your super. It goes without saying, similar to what I used to say in my videos when I used to talk about workplace pensions, when it comes to your super, actually get the login details, understand what your money is being invested into, make sure it's being invested in the first place. It should probably automatically go in to some sort of life strategy or target date retirement fund. I'll come on to where my money goes, but actually get the login details, understand how much is going in, understand where it's been invested into, understand the fees you're paying. Ultimately, this is your money that's going from your salary into your super. For me personally, mine goes into essentially a target date retirement fund, a bit like a life strategy fund. So I've had to re-record this clip, and that was because I was using a target date retirement fund type product called the Mercer Smart Path 1994 to 1998. Essentially a target date retirement fund, not a bad way to invest based on when you're born and when you want to retire, but it was quite high fee. Just for that fund, I was paying 0.66%. I took a look into it and actually switched my fund, so I'm now using the Mercer Passive International Shares. The fee for this is 0.38%, so it's still pretty high compared to other global funds that are on offer in the UK, such as the FTSE Global All Cap or FTSE All World. But by making that switch, I've reduced my fees by 42%, which will literally put thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds or Australian dollars back into my pocket over the long run. The fees are still quite high in my super, unfortunately, compared to what I pay in my general investment account with Vanguard, which we'll come on to shortly. But of course, it's great to reduce my fees by so much, and I actually believe this fund is actually a better fund to be in. The fund is 100% in international shares, as opposed to the other fund that I was using, which was only 42% international shares. The other fund I was using had 35% Australian shares, which is massively overweight because Australian stocks only make up about 2% of the global stock market. It also had other alternative assets and real assets in there. So yeah, I think this new fund is actually better invested because it's 100% international shares, arguably the best way to invest over the long term, which is also market weighted. So a lot of that money is going into Apple, Microsoft, all the biggest and best companies in the world, a lot of them coming out of the US, rather than being a sort of target date retirement fund that's overweight Australian stocks. I took the exact same approach, by the way, with my UK pension. I was invested in a type of life strategy target date retirement fund, and I similarly switched to the lowest fee, most globally diversified index fund I could find. I've done the exact same here with my Australian workplace pension. Unfortunately, it took about a year for me to actually look into and make the change. That's my fault for procrastinating, but now I have, and all my money will be going into the Mercer Passive International Shares Fund. Lower fee, more globally diversified. So yeah, a good change in my opinion. Yeah, so that is essentially one of the two main investments I make every single month. The money that goes from my gross salary into my super, that gets taxed 15%. That then grows every month and every year, hopefully, assuming the fund performs well. And I obviously then, on top of that, pay fees to Mercer. The second way I then invest whilst being in Australia is through my Vanguard general investment account. Of course, if you followed me at all, you know I'm a massive fan of Vanguard, and I had my stocks and shares ISA and my SIP with them whilst I was in the UK. I'm now in Australia and I still use Vanguard as my main platform to invest on. So I opened up a Vanguard general investment account in Australia in April of 2023, and I've been contributing $500 fortnightly into that general investment account. It comes automatically out of my current account where my salary goes into, and yeah, 500, well, for most of 2023, I was doing $500 fortnightly, which is about £250 roughly. Now, as of 2024, I'm increasing that to $550 fortnightly. So increasing my contributions by 10% into my Vanguard general investment account to try and funnel a bit more money into my investments. All of that money is in one fund called VGS. Vanguard being a good investment platform because there's a better range of funds and much lower fees, which I'm very happy about. So I found a fund, VGS. VGS was essentially the lowest fee, most global find I could find on Vanguard Australia platform. Another sort of side note, Vanguard Australia's platform actually also offers individual stock investing, which I don't do, but thought that was interesting. The UK Vanguard doesn't have that. But yeah, so all my money, 100% of my money in my Vanguard general investment account goes into VGS, 1,500 stocks, 0.18% ongoing fee. So the low cost global fund. As of the recording of January 2024, I actually recently just crossed $10,000 in that account. So that's my fortnightly contributions going in with a bit of capital gains as well over that sort of 9 or 10 month period now that we've gone through. They are the main two ways that I essentially invest whilst being in Australia. My super with Mercer through my work, my employer, and my Vanguard general investment account, which I set up myself. As of 2024, I am actually going to be trying out a few other investing platforms. I reached out to one of my Australian friends who also makes content on YouTube, Instagram, and all of that stuff, called Queenie, or Invest with Queenie, and she has a good video actually on the best investing platforms in Australia. I watched it, and based on discussion with her as well, I essentially have downloaded Superhero and Perla, who are two of the more popular, better, lower fee investment platforms in Australia. So I want to be giving them a go over the course of the next few months, but that could also be worth you looking into. For me personally, I really only invest into global ETFs and index funds, which is why the Vanguard approach suits me very well. If, however, you want to invest in other ETFs, individual stocks, US, Australian stocks, then a platform like Superhero or Perla may be better. Unfortunately, I've only just got them, and I don't think I have a referral code or affiliate link. So in the UK, a lot of the platforms I do, so I can give that to you and you can get a free share. I don't have it with those two, but I just want to let you know that, yeah, Superhero and Perla, I'm going to be giving a go in 2024, and I can make a video maybe later on in the year on the best investing platform in Australia. But that essentially wraps up my entire investing approach whilst I've been in Australia, and it will be the same going forward. Of course, the whole underline in all of this is my approach is just very simple, very passive, very hands-off. The exact same principles I was following in the UK, and why I really like the approach that I do follow myself and preach about on YouTube and Instagram and whatnot, is because whatever country you're in, the approach is the exact same. You find a low fee platform that has what you want. You find the best account that the country offers. Unfortunately, there's no stocks and shares ISA here, so it has to be a general investment account in Australia. And then thirdly, for me, I just choose a low cost global fund, or the lowest cost one I can find, funnel all my money into that, and then let the stock market, compound interest, and time do their thing to build my wealth over the long term. If you have any questions about the move to Australia or other things I've talked about in this video, leave them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. And thank you very much for watching this video.